The first thing I noticed was wrong about the security footage was Brandon's watch. He always wore it on his left wrist, had done for 15 years of marriage. But in the grainy video from the bank, it was on his right. That's when I knew something wasn't right. That's when I knew my husband hadn't just left us. I'm Sienna, and 48 hours ago my world imploded. The police said all the typical things, no signs of struggle, his phone and wallet were still here, probably just needed space. But they didn't know Brandon like I did. They hadn't seen him kiss Eli goodnight just hours before, hadn't watched him help Olivia with her science project, or heard him tell Lucas he'd be at his basketball game on Saturday. Mrs. Walker will keep looking, but right now there's no evidence of foul play. Detective Harris's voice crackled through my phone. Heavy with that particular brand of professional detachment that made me want to scream. He wouldn't just leave, I said, gripping the kitchen counter so hard my knuckles went white. His medication is still here. His laptop. Everything. Sometimes people? No. The word came out sharp enough to slice through steel. Not Brandon. Not like this. After hanging up, I stood in our bedroom doorway, staring at his side of the bed. Still made. Pristine. Wrong. The house felt like a museum of everything he'd left behind, his coffee mug in the sink, his reading glasses on the nightstand. His presence lingering in every room like a ghost. A thud from upstairs made me jump. I found Lucas in Brandon's study, yanking open drawers. He has to have left something, he muttered, not looking at me. Dad wouldn't just. He wouldn't. I watched my 15-year-old son's hands shake as he rifled through papers. Lucas. Stop looking at me like that. He slammed the drawer shut. Everyone at school's gonna think he abandoned us. That he's just another deadbeat dad who. Your father loves you. My voice stayed steady even as my insides twisted. This isn't like that. Then what is it like, Mom? Because right now it looks exactly like that. Before I could answer, Olivia appeared in the doorway, holding Eli's hand. At 11, she was already trying to be the strong one. 7-year-old Eli just looked lost. Is Daddy coming home for dinner? Eli asked. The question hit like a physical blow. I opened my mouth to respond, but Lucas beat me to it. Go play your stupid video games, Eli. Dad's gone, okay? He's gone. Lucas. I snapped, but the damage was done. Eli's face crumpled and he ran, Olivia chasing after him. Great job, I said to Lucas, who was already storming past me. Whatever. At least I'm not lying to them. Alone in Brandon's study, I sank into his chair. The leather still held his shape, like his body had left an impression the world couldn't erase. My fingers traced the edge of his desk, finding the familiar groove where he'd worn down the wood from years of nervous tapping during late-night work calls. That's when I saw it. A corner of paper, barely visible, sticking out from behind the desk drawer. Not in the drawer, behind it. My hands trembled as I pulled the drawer completely out. There, taped to the back, was an envelope. Inside was a single sheet of paper with Brandon's handwriting. If you're reading this, they found me. I'm sorry, Sienna. Keep the kids safe. Don't trust Mason. Mason. Brandon's oldest friend. The man who'd been best man at our wedding. The paper crinkled in my fist as 15 years of memories shifted, realigned, transformed into questions. Every dinner party, every family vacation where Mason had joined us. Every late-night conversation I'd overheard between him and Brandon, had it all been a lie? My phone buzzed. A text from Mason, heard about Brandon. Let me know if you need anything. I'm here for you guys. I stared at the message, ice spreading through my veins. Whatever game this was, Mason had just made his first move. And I was ready to play. Mason's black Mercedes pulled into my driveway exactly 3 days after Brandon disappeared. I watched through the kitchen window as he straightened his tie, practiced what looked like a sympathetic expression, and walked to my door with the confident stride of a man who'd never questioned his welcome. I let him knock twice before answering. Sienna. He embraced me before I could step back. I came as soon as I could get away from the office. How are you holding up? The cologne he wore made my stomach turn. Same brand Brandon used to wear before Mason gave it to him as a gift. The kids need stability right now. I'm focusing on that. Of course, of course. He glanced past me into the house. Mind if I come in? I might have some insights about Brandon's situation. My hand tightened on the doorframe. The kids are doing homework. Maybe we could talk out here? Actually, I'd love to see them. Lucas especially, he must be taking this hard. Before I could answer, Lucas appeared behind me. Uncle Mason? Mason's face lit up with practiced warmth. There's my favorite point guard. Come here, kid. They hugged, and I watched Mason's hand pat Lucas's back, 3 quick taps, just like he used to do with Brandon. My son pulled away first, eyes bright with hope. Did Dad contact you? Do you know where he is? No direct contact, Mason said, his tone gentle. But I know your dad. He wouldn't just vanish without a reason. I'm sure he's trying to protect you all from something. I caught the slight emphasis on protect. The careful way he watched my reaction. Lucas, honey, could you check on Eli? He was upset earlier. Lucas's face darkened. Right. Because that's all I'm good for now, babysitting. He stormed upstairs, and Mason clicked his tongue. Teenagers. Remember when Brandon went through his rebellious phase in college? The stories I could tell. Why are you really here, Mason? His smile didn't waver. I told you, to help. Brandon and I go way back. Whatever he's mixed up in, maybe I can. Mixed up in? I interrupted. What makes you think he's mixed up in anything? A flash of something, surprise? Concern? Crossed his face before smoothing away. Poor choice of words. I just meant. Mom. Olivia's voice cut through the tension. Grandma Helen's here. Perfect. Just perfect. My mother-in-law's silver Lexus pulled up behind Mason's Mercedes, and Helen Walker emerged like an avenging angel in Chanel. Sienna. Her voice could have frozen hell. I see you're entertaining while my son is missing. Helen. Mason stepped forward, arms open. I was just stopping by to check on the family. At least someone is. Helen's eyes cut to me. Since my calls keep going to voicemail. I've been dealing with the police, the kids, work. Yes, I'm sure you're very busy. Helen pushed past me into the house. Olivia, darling. Come give Grandma a hug. And where's my precious Eli? I followed them inside, watching Helen gather my children close, shooting pointed looks my way. Mason lingered in the doorway, observing everything with those calculating eyes. I should get going, he said finally. But Sienna, call me if you need anything. Anything at all. After he left, Helen cornered me in the kitchen. I want to know exactly what you've done to find my son. What I've done. The note in Brandon's desk burned in my pocket like a secret. I've been trying to hold this family together while what? While the police dismiss it as another husband walking out? While you play the grieving wife? She leaned closer, voice dropping. Brandon told me things weren't good between you two. That you were pushing him away. My hands shook as I gripped the counter. That's not true. No? Then why did he call me last month, asking about divorce lawyers? The world tilted sideways. You're lying. Am I? Helen's smile was razor-sharp. I think you know exactly why Brandon left. And I'm going to find out what you're hiding. She swept out of the kitchen, leaving me with the sudden, horrifying realization that I didn't know my husband at all. The man who kissed me goodbye 3 days ago had apparently been planning his escape for weeks. Or had he? Brandon's note about Mason felt heavier than ever in my pocket. Two could play at this game of secrets and lies. I pulled out my phone and texted Rachel, "Need to talk. Now." About Brandon's financial records. Rachel spread the bank statements across her dining room table, each page marked with yellow sticky notes. These aren't just regular transactions, Sienna. Look at the pattern. My eyes traced the numbers until they blurred. Bi-weekly deposits of exactly $9,750 into an account I'd never known existed. Just under the $10,000 reporting threshold. How long? 3 years. Rachel's finger traced down the column. Always the same amount, always from different shell companies. Brandon was careful, I'll give him that. The front door chimed. Rachel's husband taking their kids to soccer practice. The house fell silent except for the shuffling of papers and the thundering of my pulse. Detective Harris called while you were looking at these, I said. Apparently, Brandon's car was spotted at the Canadian border 2 days before he disappeared. That doesn't make sense. Rachel frowned. His passport's still at home, right? Unless he had another one. The words tasted bitter. Like he had another bank account. Another life. My phone buzzed, a text from Lucas, ditching last period. Don't wait up. Perfect. I dropped my head into my hands. My son's spiraling, Olivia barely speaks anymore, and Eli. God, Eli asked his teacher today when his daddy was coming back to read bedtime stories. Rachel squeezed my shoulder, then froze. Sienna, look at this. She pulled out a statement from 6 months ago. These withdrawals, they're all from ATMs near Mason's office building. My stomach lurched. Brandon's warning note felt heavy in my pocket, don't trust Mason. I need to go, I said, gathering the statements. Lucas. I'll find him, Rachel promised. You do what you need to do. I was halfway to my car when I spotted it, a black SUV with tinted windows, parked across the street. As I watched, it pulled away from the curb, turning slowly onto the main road. My hands shook as I called Detective Harris. Walker Residence, he answered, sounding tired. Someone's following me. A pause. Are you certain? Black SUV, no plates, tinted windows. I've seen it 3 times this week. Where are you now? Leaving Rachel's house on Maple Street. Stay there. I'm sending a patrol car. No. The word came out sharp. I need to find Lucas. Mrs. Walker. My son is out there somewhere, detective. And whoever's watching me might be watching him too. Another pause. There's something you should know. We found traces of blood in Brandon's car. The world tilted. Blood? Not enough to indicate. Well. But it matches Brandon's type. And there's more. The car had bullet holes patched over with fresh paint. My grip tightened on the steering wheel as I pulled onto the main road. Why are you telling me this now? Because I just got the lab results on that note you brought in. The papers from a specialty manufacturer. Used primarily by one company in town. Let me guess. Mason's firm. Got it in one. His voice hardened. Mrs. Walker, whatever your husband was involved in, it's bigger than a domestic dispute. I need you to. A black SUV appeared in my rearview mirror. Detective, I cut in, that car is back. Where are you? Heading downtown on 5th. My foot pressed harder on the gas. They're getting closer. I'm tracking your phone. Don't stop, don't. The SUV rammed my back bumper. My phone flew from my hand as I swerved, tires screaming. In the chaos, I caught a glimpse of the driver. Mason. He wasn't wearing his usual polished smile. His face was hard, focused, like a man doing a job he'd done many times before. I yanked the wheel right, cutting through a parking lot. The SUV followed. My mind raced, not to the police station, they'd expect that. Not home. Think. The hospital. Lucas sometimes went to the park behind it when he was upset. 2 birds, 1 stone. I hit the gas harder, praying I'd find my son before Mason found us both. Brandon's warning echoed in my head, along with a new, terrifying question. Had my husband disappeared to escape Mason, or had Mason made him disappear? The hospital parking garage swallowed my car into its concrete depths. Mason's SUV disappeared from my mirrors 3 turns ago, but my hands wouldn't stop shaking. I found a spot near the emergency exit and killed the engine, pulling out my phone to call Rachel. No signal. A car door slammed somewhere in the garage. Footsteps echoed, then stopped. My breath caught as a shadow passed between vehicles. Mom? Lucas stepped into view, hands stuffed in his pockets, looking younger than his 15 years under the fluorescent lights. Get in the car. My voice cracked. Now. He didn't move. Why are you here? Lucas, please. I saw Uncle Mason's car following you. His face hardened. What's going on? What aren't you telling me? More footsteps. Multiple sets now, coming from different directions. I reached across and pushed open the passenger door. We need to leave. Lucas backed away. No. I'm tired of running. Of pretending everything's fine when it's not. Dad's gone because of something bad, isn't he? Something involving Uncle Mason? A figure appeared at the far end of the garage. Then another. Dark suits, purposeful strides. Your father, I swallowed hard. He left us a warning about Mason. Please, get in the car. A warning? Lucas's voice rose. You've known something this whole time and didn't tell us? The men were closer now. One reached inside his jacket. Lucas Walker? The voice was professionally pleasant. Your Uncle Mason asked us to pick you up. He's worried about you. I stepped between them and my son. He's not going anywhere. The man smiled. It never reached his eyes. Mrs. Walker. Mason mentioned you might be confused about the situation. Why don't we all go somewhere quiet and talk? Mom? Lucas's whisper carried a tremor I hadn't heard since he was small. My phone buzzed in my pocket, signal restored. As I shifted my weight, I felt the hard edge of Brandon's note pressing against my leg. Actually, I said, let's call Detective Harris. He'd love to hear about those bank transfers. About the blood in Brandon's car. About everything. The second man's hand twitched toward his jacket. That won't be necessary. I already sent him everything. The lie fell easily from my lips. Bank records, Brandon's note, photos of you following us. If anything happens to me or my son, it all goes public. A long pause. The first man touched his earpiece, listening. His partner kept his hand near his jacket. Mason would like to speak with you directly, the first man said finally. Just a conversation. Your son can wait in the car. No. The word came from Lucas, stronger now. I'm staying with my mom. Something shifted in the air, a subtle change in the men's postures, a new calculation in their eyes. They saw what I saw, not a scared teenager, but Brandon's son. Determined. Unflinching. My phone buzzed again. Rachel, police en route. Hold on. Here's what's going to happen, I said, reaching back to grip Lucas's hand. We're leaving. You're going to tell Mason that if he wants to talk, he can do it through Detective Harris. And if he comes near my children again. I let the threat hang unfinished. Sometimes the scariest promises are the ones left unspoken. The men exchanged glances. Another touch to the earpiece. Another pause. This isn't over, Mrs. Walker. No, I agreed. It's just beginning. They backed away, disappearing into the shadows of the garage just as police sirens wailed in the distance. Lucas squeezed my hand. Mom? What do we do now? I looked at my son, really looked at him. He had Brandon's jaw, his stance, but something else too. Something entirely his own. Something unbreakable. Now, I said, we stop running. We find out what happened to your father. And we make Mason pay for whatever part he played in it. Together? Together. The sirens grew closer as we got in the car. In my rearview mirror, I caught a glimpse of Mason watching from the upper level, his face half hidden in shadow. Let him watch. Let him wonder what else I knew, what else Brandon had left behind. The game was changing. And this time, I was making the rules. The letter arrived exactly 1 year after Brandon disappeared. No return address, just my name in his familiar handwriting. Inside, a single sheet of paper and a key. Detective Harris spread the items across his desk, wearing latex gloves. Postmarked from Seattle 3 days ago. I stared at Brandon's words until they burned into my retinas. Mason knows. Cabin. Tomorrow night. Come alone. It's a trap, Lucas said from the chair beside me. He hadn't left my side since the parking garage incident. Uncle Mason's using Dad's handwriting somehow. Harris shook his head. We compared it to known samples. It's genuine. Then he's being forced to write it, I said. Maybe. Harris picked up the key. This matches a rental property outside the city. Remote location, cash payment, rented 6 months ago under a false name. My phone buzzed. Rachel, Olivia's asking questions. Getting harder to keep her calm. Another text followed, Helen's threatening to file for emergency custody. The walls closed in tighter. Lucas must have sensed it because his hand found mine, squeezing hard. I have to go, I said. Mom, no. Mrs. Walker, Harris interrupted, we can set up surveillance, put a wire on you. And if Mason's watching? If Brandon's life depends on me coming alone? I stood up, my legs steadier than they had any right to be. I've spent a year wondering if my husband abandoned us or if something worse happened. Now I know he's alive. I know where he'll be. And what if it's not what you think? Lucas's voice cracked. What if Dad really did choose to leave? The question hit like a physical blow. Because part of me, the part that remembered Helen's words about divorce lawyers, that remembered the secret bank accounts, had been wondering the same thing. Then I'll finally know the truth. I took the key from Harris's desk. And I'll make sure he understands exactly what his choice did to this family. Harris's phone rang. He answered, listened, his expression darkening. Mason's on the move. Just cleaned out his office and cancelled all his meetings. He's running, Lucas said. Or preparing, I countered. Detective, I need you to protect my children. Whatever happens tomorrow night. Nothing's happening tomorrow night, Harris cut in. Because you're not going. I smiled, and something in my expression made both Harris and Lucas lean back slightly. Watch me. Later that night, I found Olivia in Brandon's study, sitting in his chair. Dad used to let me spin in it, she said quietly. When you were putting Eli to bed. I knelt beside her. I know things have been scary lately. Are you going to disappear too? The question knocked the breath from my lungs. Never. That's what Dad said. She turned those two wise eyes on me. The night before he left, he promised he'd always be here. But he lied. I pulled her close, feeling her tears soak through my shirt. I'm not your father. No. She pulled back, wiping her eyes. You're stronger. In that moment, looking at my daughter's fierce belief in me, I realized something. This wasn't just about revenge anymore. It was about showing my children that sometimes the people who hurt us don't get to simply walk away. That justice isn't always clean or simple, but it matters. That night, I packed a bag while the kids slept. Photos of Brandon's bloody car. Bank records. His warning note about Mason. Everything that proved this wasn't just about a man walking away from his family. The cabin key felt heavy in my pocket. Tomorrow, I'd finally get answers. And Brandon would learn that the woman he left behind wasn't the same one he'd be facing. Because that woman had spent a year protecting their children, uncovering his secrets. And learning that revenge isn't just about anger, it's about balance. About making things right. I touched the gun Harris had given me for protection, now secured in my waistband. Tomorrow, Brandon would understand exactly what his choices had cost us. And this time, he wouldn't be the one walking away. The cabin door creaked open at my touch. Brandon's silhouette stood by the window, backlit by moonlight, and for a moment, I was thrown back to every night I'd found him in his study. Working late. Before everything shattered. You came alone. His voice was rougher than I remembered. You left us alone. The gun pressed against my back, hidden but ready. Seems fair. He turned, and I barely stopped myself from gasping. A jagged scar ran from his temple to jaw. His left arm hung stiffly. This wasn't the man who'd disappeared a year ago, this was someone harder, haunted. Mason's men did this, he said, gesturing to his face. When I wouldn't play along anymore. Play along with what? Money laundering. Through the firm. I was their perfect front, respected lawyer, family man, Mason's old friend. He laughed bitterly. Until I found out they were using my client list to blackmail people. That they'd threaten to hurt you and the kids if I didn't cooperate. I pulled out the bank statements. These transfers? Protection money. To keep them away from our family. His eyes found mine. I had to disappear, Sienna. To gather evidence, to abandon your children? The words exploded from me. To let Lucas think he wasn't worth staying for? To have Olivia cry herself to sleep? To make Eli ask every single night when Daddy's coming home? I did it to protect them. You did it to protect yourself. The cabin fell silent except for a ragged breathing. Brandon stepped closer, and I tensed. You're right, he whispered. I was a coward. But I'm trying to make it right. I have proof now, everything Mason's done, everyone he's hurt. We can end this. We? The gun felt heavier against my spine. There is no we anymore, Brandon. You made sure of that. His face crumpled. Sienna, please. I know I hurt you, but... Headlights swept across the windows. Brandon's eyes widened. No. No, no, no. You were followed. Car doors slammed outside. Multiple sets of footsteps crunched on gravel. Mason, Brandon breathed. He must have known, we need to. The windows exploded inward. Something metal clattered across the floor, a flashbang grenade. Brandon lunged for me as it detonated. The world went white. Silent. I felt myself hit the floor, felt Brandon's weight covering me. When my vision cleared, Mason stood in the doorway, flanked by his men. Touching reunion, he said, smiling that practiced smile. Brandon, you should have stayed gone. And Sienna. You should have trusted your mother-in-law's warning about those divorce lawyers. My blood froze. Helen works for you? Everyone works for me. That's how I knew Brandon would contact you eventually. Mason nodded to his men. Bring them both. We'll make it look like a murder-suicide. Tragic end to a family drama. I reached for the gun, but one of Mason's men was faster. He yanked it from my waistband, tossing it aside. The kids, I choked out. Please, they've lost enough. They'll be fine, Mason assured me. Helen will take good care of them. She's very motivated to keep quiet about certain financial arrangements. Brandon struggled to his feet. Mason, wait. The evidence is already being destroyed, along with Detective Harris's entire investigation. Mason checked his watch. In fact, right about now, your friend Rachel should be receiving a very unfortunate visit. The world tilted sideways. Rachel. The kids. Everyone I'd tried to protect, now in danger because I'd walked into this trap. You won't get away with this, Brandon said, but his voice shook. Mason laughed. I already have. For years. And now, thanks to your wife's determination to find you, I can tie up all my loose ends at once. He raised his gun, aiming at Brandon first. Say goodbye, old friend. In that moment, I saw everything I'd lost, and everything I still stood to lose. My children growing up as orphans. Mason walking free. The truth dying here in this cabin. The gun that had been kicked aside lay just within reach. Mason was focused on Brandon. His men were watching their boss's big moment. Nobody was watching me. And that, I realized, was their final mistake. The discarded gun felt like salvation in my hands. Mason was still talking, savoring his moment of triumph, when I rolled and fired. The bullet caught his shoulder, spinning him backward. His men reacted instantly, but Brandon was faster, tackling the nearest one as chaos erupted in the cabin. You stupid woman, Mason snarled, raising his own weapon despite the blood spreading across his suit. You have no idea what you've done. A phone rang. Mason's phone. He glanced at it, and something changed in his expression, fear, real fear, breaking through that polished facade. Boss, one of his men called out, Harris is on the scanner. Police units converging. Shut up. Mason's gun swung between Brandon and me. This ends now. I'm not going to prison? I finished. Like all those people you blackmailed? Like Brandon's clients whose lives you destroyed? Brandon inched closer to me. It's over, Mason. The evidence isn't just in one place. It's everywhere. Every account, every threat, every crime, I spent a year making sure you couldn't bury it. Mason laughed, but it was brittle. You really think? Helen talked. The words hit him like physical blows. An hour ago. To Harris. That's probably what that call was about. His face contorted. You're lying. She chose her grandchildren over you. I met his eyes. That's something you never understood about family, Mason. Real family. It's not about control. It's about choice. Sirens wailed in the distance. Mason's remaining man backed toward the door. Don't you dare move, Mason snapped, but his authority was crumbling. The man fled into the darkness. You know what the funny thing is? Brandon's voice was quiet. A year ago, I ran because I thought I was protecting my family. But Sienna. She protected them better than I ever could. By staying. By fighting. By being stronger than both of us. Mason's gun hand trembled. Shut up, both of you. I can still. Still what? I stood slowly, keeping my weapon steady. Kill us? Make it look like a murder-suicide? The police are coming, Mason. Rachel is safe, she was never home tonight. The kids are with Harris. And you're bleeding out in a cabin full of evidence. The sirens grew closer. Mason's face twisted through a kaleidoscope of emotions: rage, fear, desperation. His finger tightened on the trigger. Mason, Brandon said softly, remember when we were kids? When you told me your father was hitting your mother, and I helped you get them both out? You said you'd never become him. Never hurt families like that. Something broke in Mason's expression. The gun wavered. But you did become him, I pressed. Worse than him. You just wore better suits and used fancier words. I protected people, Mason whispered. No. You controlled them. There's a difference. Red and blue lights flashed through the windows. Mason looked at his gun, then at us, then at the door. For a moment, I saw the scared kid Brandon had once helped, trapped beneath years of power and corruption. Mason, Brandon said, choose better this time. The cabin door burst open. Detective Harris led the charge, officers flooding in with weapons raised. Mason's gun clattered to the floor. As they cuffed him, he looked at me one last time. You'll never feel safe, you know. There will always be someone else, someone worse. Maybe, I cut him off. But we'll face them together. As a family. That's something you'll never understand. They led him out into the night. Brandon touched my arm tentatively. Sienna, don't. I stepped back. This doesn't fix what you did. Doesn't erase this year. I know. His voice broke. But maybe. Maybe we can start somewhere new. Build something different. Better. I looked at him, really looked at him. Past the scars, past the pain, to the man who'd finally chosen to stay and fight. Maybe, I said. But first, we have 3 children who need to hear the truth. All of it. And this time, you're not doing it alone. Outside, the night was giving way to dawn. A new day, a new beginning. Not perfect, not easy, but real. And this time, we'd face it together. The new house sits on 3 acres, backing up to dense woods. Lucas helped paint his siblings' rooms, sunshine yellow for Eli, deep purple for Olivia. His own room remains white, like he's not quite ready to commit to permanence. Brandon stands in the doorway while the kids unpack, watching silently. His scar catches the afternoon light. Dad, Eli calls out, where should I put your old baseball? Brandon hesitates, glancing at me. I nod slightly. How about we find a special shelf for it? He steps into the room and Eli beams. Olivia appears in the hallway, holding a familiar envelope. Mom? I found this in one of the boxes. It's Mason's letter from prison, delivered last week. I take it from her carefully, remembering his words. I understand now what Brandon was trying to protect. What you were fighting for. Maybe in another life, we all could have been the family we pretended to be. Just some old paperwork, I tell her. From before the move. She studies my face with those 2 wise eyes. Are we safe here? Yes. The answer comes easily now. Detective Harris made sure of it. And your father. I meet Brandon's gaze across the room. He's not running anymore. Later, after the kids are asleep, I find Brandon in his new study. No hidden compartments in this desk. No secrets in these walls. Mason's sentencing is next week, he says without turning around. I know. The prosecutor wants me to testify. And? He turns, shadows playing across his scarred face. I'm going to tell them everything. Every detail. Even the parts that make me look worse. Good. A pause. Then, I found this in Lucas's room. He holds up a crumpled paper, college applications. He's looking at schools near here. Not running away to California like he planned. He's choosing to stay, I say. That matters. Brandon's hands shake slightly as he sets down the papers. I keep waiting for you to tell me to leave. To say this isn't working. Would you? If I asked? Yes. His voice cracks. Because you've earned that right. To choose. To decide what happens to this family. I moved to the window, looking out at our new yard, our new life. You know what I learned this year? Revenge isn't about destroying someone. It's about taking back power. Making them face what they've done. And have I? Faced it? You're trying. I turn back to him. That's why I haven't asked you to leave. Because you're finally doing the hard work. The real work. He nods slowly. I found another letter from Mason yesterday. He asked me to visit him in prison. Are you going to? No. Brandon straightens some books on his desk, a nervous habit from before that survived everything else. Some bridges stay burned. Some choices can't be unmade. A sound from upstairs, Eli calling out in his sleep. We both move instinctively toward the door, then pause. I'll go, Brandon says. We'll both go, I correct him. That's how it works now. As we climb the stairs, I think about Mason's last words in court, we all make prisons for ourselves. He was right, in a way. But he never understood that some prisons are meant to be escaped, while others, like family, like love, are choices we make every day to stay. Eli settles quickly with both of us there. In the hallway, Brandon touches my arm gently. Thank you, he whispers. For showing me how to stay. How to fight. Thank you for learning. We stand there in the darkness of our new home, surrounded by sleeping children and fresh paint and second chances. Not perfect. Not finished. But real. And sometimes, that's the best revenge of all, building something stronger from the ashes of what was destroyed. The scars remain, but they tell a story now, of choices made and unmade, of bridges burned and rebuilt. Of a family that learned to fight not just for survival, but for each other. That's a story worth telling. Worth living. Worth staying for.